Our next speaker is John Morse, Distinguished Toastmaster, and he will be delivering a speech. Oh my gosh, am I speaking tonight? Part 4. Oh my gosh, am I speaking tonight? Part 4.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Have you ever been at a meeting and half paying attention, maybe not being real interested, then having your boss, your supervisors say, Don, Shirley, Jim, what did you think about that? You sit there, you say, oh my gosh, what did I think about that? You have to come up with something. That's why we do table topics every single week at Toastmasters. And it's also why we take the opportunity to speak extemporaneously on occasions. Tonight, I want to talk about 3 things. First, I want to talk about how you choose a subject to speak on. The second is how you come to grips with an organizational pattern for your speaking. And the third is a little bit about developing delivery that packs a punch. To begin, how do you pick a subject? We know in table topics we have to say something. And so Michelle talked about her pregnancy and her situation in the military and how she had to surrender the opportunity to be an active duty member of the Air Force. That's your past. We all have so much to know, and nobody knows us better than we know us. Those stories are wonderful things upon which you can develop a speech. The second is, what do you enjoy doing? I enjoy travel. I enjoy going to different places. That's why it was natural for me 3 weeks ago to put together a slide presentation on the 17 days that I spent in Barbados. It was easy, and I think it was entertaining and interesting for everyone. I have other hobbies like reading. I have goals that I want to talk about. All of these things are the mill from which you draw to give interesting speeches. That's where you develop the material. Now, how do you organize a speech? We've heard this expression time and time again, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Isn't that the truth? When you're giving a speech, keep it simple, stupid. We all know from the time we took a speech course in high school all the way to every other Toastmasters and every other aspect of speaking, that there are 3 parts to speaking. One is delivering an opening. How do we deliver an opening? We'll get people's attention. We like to get people's attention by maybe asking a question. How many of you have experienced this? How many of you know something about this? How many of you know what happened in 1941 in April or May? And we're there scratching our heads trying to figure out what Don's going to say next, right? Asking a question is always a good way to get people's attention and to begin your speech. There are other things that you can do. The next thing I want to talk about is the body of the speech. What is it that you want to present in just 5 to 7 minutes? It's gone like that. It's gone like that. It's so fast. Don really didn't have an opportunity to have a really bang up conclusion tonight because the time had already expired. It's such a small amount of time. What do we talk about in Toastmasters? The rule of 3s. Come up with 3 ideas. That's all you need for a 5 to 7 minute speech. What is it about 3s? Simple. People remember threes. They remember the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? It was a wonderful movie. And those three expressions come up in literature, they come up in movies, they come up in speaking, time and time and time again. Notice the threes. So that's part of the body of the speech, keeping it simple. Now we get to the conclusion. We want to leave people with the message. What is the message? What do I want to tell people? How do I want people to remember this speech? One of the things that we've learned from years and years and years is this. When you begin to prepare a speech, start with the end in mind. Know how you want to conclude your speech, then everything flows from the beginning, the opening, the 3 points that you want to make, all the way through to the conclusion. And you've delivered that speech in a fashion that leaves people saying, yeah, I want to know more about that. I want to know more about what happened in 1941, for example. I want to know more about what drove the Russians to defeat the Germans in that period of time. Finally, we move to delivery, and we really don't have much time to talk about delivery. However, delivery sort of follows with things like gestures, using those gestures so they mean something to people, using dialogue. When you give a story, use dialogue, use it so that you bring people to the here and now. And that's how you make the speech come alive. You use that by vocal variety. All of these things will come. They don't come automatically. We weren't born knowing how to use dialogue. We weren't born knowing how to use vocal variety, except to say, "Wah!" and cry and scream when we were hungry or we needed to be changed. All of this comes as you develop that style that is best suited for you. Oh my gosh, am I speaking tonight? Yes, everyone here can do it. All you need is to not surrender, to go ahead, stand up, and do your very best. Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very kindly. Excellent. John is our general evaluator, but we're going to have the opportunity now for a minute or two to evaluate John, to evaluate his speech. Anybody want to comment about John's speech this evening? Shirley Rowell, come on up. Shirley Rowell. Mind you, it's part 4. Doesn't mean you had to have heard part 1, 2, and 3, but you might have.
There is something about John's mannerism that I just totally love. When he starts his speech, he goes, wow, you know what? I mean, he is so out there, giving you his energy of wanting to know what is he going to talk about. I don't know how long you've been in Toastmasters and if this is what's given you the speaking ability. I know before I think you were a judge, but if I could be just like that, I will stay in Toastmasters. But he also gave us topics for us to remember. Now, I may have heard some of this stuff before, but Michelle hasn't. And so we always are really trying to give the information, and it'll stick where it needs to stick when it does. So I knew kind of like the organization of the speech, but there's just something about getting with your gestures, your voice, that actually gives you confidence. I know one time I was doing a speech one time. Oh, I'm talking about myself. Never mind. I'm supposed to talk about John, but he is really good at just giving it all. And I like that. I don't know what I could say that I would add to what you had to say. You were on time. You did a wonderful job. I don't know what I would want to see different, because I think that was an excellent speech, but there's just something about John that when you started off, you really want to know more about what he's up to and what he's going to talk about. Thank you, John. Thank you, Vinny.
Beautiful. How about this fabulous club? Don Prue is going to give us some feedback about John Morse's speech.
You know, I don't know if I've ever heard him speak better. He just seemed to be so smooth and fluid tonight. I've seen you do a lot of speeches and you do a very good job, but you were using your hands, you were doing the gesturing, you were doing all the things I did like this. I wish you would talk to me. I wish you would talk to me before I spoke. I would have done this and I would have done this, and he did it all after I did it. But one thing that I do have to criticize you about, and you were wrong when you said he spoke on time. You spoke for 7 minutes and 35 seconds. And I sat right there holding it, trying to go, John, what are you doing? And I thought you were gonna end at 7:27, but then you kept on going. But other than that, I thought you did a super job. I really can't find anything. I think you did sneak in a but I think otherwise you did a super job, and it's a pleasure to know you and have you as my mentor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much for sharing that, Don. John is also my mentor. And one of the wonderful things about having a mentor like John is he always makes sure that you either go out to lunch, out to dinner, or at least for some alcoholic beverages or Cokes. And the reason he does that is to make you feel more comfortable, but then you feel indebted to him. So you got to get together again and talk about Toastmasters. And what's interesting is he used the rule of threes, which is something that's Toastmaster-ish, but it definitely works. And I would disagree a little bit with Shirley in saying that a speech like John's would only be more or less for newer members. Because, excuse me, one of the things I thought about is he suggested reading what is a book that you read. And you know, it kind of refreshed my memory. Some people have spoken about books. Matter of fact, I just read the book by Joe Biden about Promise Me Dad, about remembering his son had died of cancer. And as a result of reading that book, Celadon Publishers, which is a subsidiary of Macmillan Publishers, or a division, they asked me if I wanted to read his sister's book. His sister's book is Growing Up Biden by Valerie Biden Owens. And as a result of having read that book and writing about it on Goodreads, if you read even just tangentially, you should be on Goodreads, www.goodreads.com. Thanks for sharing, John, because I think the bottom line is what he said is tell a story and be you.